government. Programs like this are commonly referred to as black projects or deep black programs, and they are of an extremely covert and secretive nature. Of course, unacknowledged special access programs are said to be highly compartmentalized, something I mentioned the other night, right? And even with those, the necessary security clearances can only access the information on a need-to-know basis, and you only need to know so much.
We are still
They're hidden from public
night,
oversight
your help has lifted
and
a
accounting.
burden from my mind.
In other words, no watchdog committee watches over them. And they probably consume, for example, in 2013,
buy what you need here.
Edward Snowden leaked secret government documentation that proved
Until next
A,
time.
they do exist, and B, we spent about $52.6 billion toward those operations in 2013. So that all goes back to last night's show. $52.6 billion. How many doctor's appointments would that be? And now something, by the way, coming up, of course, we have a guest tonight. Eventually we will be getting to him. Preston Dennett is my guest, and this may interest him. It interested me. He talks about ghosts. And this comes from Anomalous.com. A lot of good things do. There's something notable about males and violence in real life, right? How many times does somebody walk in somewhere and start shooting? Usually it's a guy. But there is something notable about them. Afterlife. There's a study conducted by somebody named Eldonur Haraldsson, I believe it is, a psychologist at the University of Iceland, of all places, of 337 cases of people who have reported encounters with the dead. Quite a survey. The apparitions were mostly males, and it's where the cause of death was known. And in 30% of the cases, the person had died violently. That may not sound very significant. It's 30%, right? But the percentage of violent deaths in the study during the relevant time period, studies of reincarnation cases, most notably by the late Ian Stevenson, show the same pattern of mostly males being involved again and again and again. So, I guess mean in this life, mean in that life. And then there's no way I can let Cecil go without comment. Cecil the lion. It's got to be the saddest doggone story I've ever seen. Cecil was killed by a dentist. I guess you know that now, right? This was a lion in a preserve in Africa. In a preserve. And it is said that it was lured out of the preserve so this dentist could, from what I heard, shoot bows and arrows, arrows at it. And then I guess it was up to like 40 hours before poor Cecil, loved by many, and tagged, by the way, died. It took him a long time to die. So this guy could have his people lure him out and shoot him. And the public is really ticked off. I mean, really ticked off. Now this doctor has sort of just disappeared. I don't blame him. Everybody's after him. He's much hated. But it's just really a sad story. If you could see this lion, my goodness. If anything will bring you close to crying, that's it. I have cats, as you know. Recently lost my Yeti. Oh, God, that was hard. But so Cecil's nothing but a big cat. Really big cat. Was a really big cat till the dentist shot him. So that's a big deal. And then there's one final item, and then we'll break. And that is, I discussed this the other day. I brought it up. It's the cube. I don't know why I'm stuck on the cube, but I'm stuck on the cube. And I asked Keith to bring it to the top of the website, which he did. But then he thought I was done with it, and I was just going to discard the cube like it was nothing. And so he eliminated it from the website, and I called him today and said, Keith, where's the cube? I thought you were done with it. No, I'm far from done with the cube. And I'm going to discuss this with our guest coming up. No, I'm not done with the cube. I would like you all to go there and look at it, if you get a chance. These are still photographs taken, I might add, by many people. That's really important. Taken by many people. So please go take a look at it. And I think this is something serious. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm fooled. Maybe I am a fool. But it's being discarded by much of the UFO community. Why? Because, well, it's a cube. And I think that is a tragic, serious mistake on the part of ufology. Now, maybe it's some cube balloon or something. I don't know. But it's really odd. It doesn't belong. It certainly doesn't belong popping out of a cloud. Here's my thinking. Who are we to say that a UFO has got to look like a flying saucer? I mean, isn't it just silly to say that? For all we know, UFOs are invisible. Or UFOs are cubes. Or something else that doesn't make sense. I think this cube is extremely mysterious, real because many people got photographs from different locations. And it started me thinking, well, ufology seems to be sort of dismissing this, and I think it's because it's not a saucer. How could we possibly know how they think? How could we even guess what they might build? Isn't that rather, what's the right word? Egotistical of us, or earth-centered of us, or human-centered of us to be doing? I think there's something really there. And because it doesn't look like what we imagine, doesn't mean it isn't worth our attention. Go to artbell.com, you see it at the top, and you can hear the comments of the people. Well, all right. Coming up, Preston Dennett began investigating UFOs and paranormal. Tonight, we're not going to concentrate so much on UFOs. Well, a little cube talk at the beginning. And then out of body. And maybe some ghosts. Anyway, he started all this back in '86 when he discovered that his family, friends, co-workers were having dramatic and unexplained encounters. Since then, he's interviewed hundreds of witnesses, investigated a wide variety of paranormal phenomena. He is a field investigator for the MUFON UFO Network, a ghost hunter, a paranormal researcher, the author of 17 books and 100 articles. Wow. Been all over the place. Radio shows, TV shows, history channels, deep sea UFOs and UFO hunters. His research has been presented, for example, by the LA Times, LA Daily News, Dallas Morning News. You get the idea. All over the place. He's taught various classes on paranormal subjects and lectures across the U.S. He currently lives in Reseda, California, and he'll tell you all about his website. He will be here in a few moments.
Clock strikes 12, and Midnight in the Desert is pounding packets your way on the Dark Matter Digital Network. To call the show, please direct your finger digits to dial 1-952-225-5278. That's 1-952. Call ART.
So go take a look at the cube Actually, two separate people who happened to catch good shots of the cube coming out of a cloud, or whatever it is it's doing. And I'm telling you, it's weird. Well, all right, on now to Preston Dennett. We're going to talk about a lot of things out of body, mainly, I think, but we're going to start. We're going to start with the cube. Hey, Preston.
Hi, Art. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. You are in Reseda, California, right?
That's right.
Okay. I called you before the show, and I said, look at the cube. And I take it you did.
I looked at the cube.
Okay. Now, it doesn't look like a UFO. Well, in the strictest sense, I guess it does. It's unidentified, and it appears to be flying.
You can't
Other
hold
than that,
anymore.
though, it doesn't match up with the, what most people think it ought to look like, but it's weird. Really weird.
Right. No, it's not silver or metallic. It's not saucer-shaped. It's not V-shaped. It's not spherical.
Right.
These are the common ones that, I think we hear a lot of.
Yes, but, they might not think like us, huh?
Well, how could they possibly? I mean, by definition, they are alien. And this is one of the things that's really, I think, kind of frustrating and at the same time interesting about, investigating UFOs is the variety of these craft. Yes, we do get a lot of saucer shapes, but, I don't think there's a shape out there that, we haven't heard about, whether it's, crosses or donut shapes or crescent shapes or, it just goes on. I had one guy tell me, I don't know how to describe the shape. It wasn't octagonal. It had all these different sides that were, different lengths. It was very oddly shaped,
You
like a
can't
lump.
carry anymore.
So he kind of described it.
We seem to want
can't
it to
carry
be a
anymore.
saucer,
Yeah, saucers are nice shapes, definitely very convenient, but certainly that's not the only thing people are seeing.
I think that came from the early movies, science fiction movies that we had, because they were all saucers.
Right, it's interesting because Kenneth Arnold, he didn't actually see saucers, and apparently the Roswell craft wasn't, technically a saucer.
There you go. Right,
So-
you're absolutely right. Okay, well, anyway,
These shrines
I
are ancient.
really wanted to call
as
attention to
old
that. I
as
want people to look
humankind,
at it.
some
It
say.
is, to me,
They
as
say
much, if not more, of a
Prometheus, who brought us
mystery than
fire, built these too.
stuff that's
And in
like a
ancient
saucer.
times, men.
Yeah, you know what I like about the photograph actually is you can see this thing before it's fully formed.
Oh,
So
yes.
it's as if
I want
it's
you to know you saved our
interdimensional
lives.
coming into
All
our
the crops
Yes.
were not ruined.
physical
We will
space.
not
That's the
starve
other thing.
through the
I mean, who
winter.
says their method of propulsion is remotely like anything we even imagined?
Those
It
monsters
might have
everywhere.
just
You better get some quality
materialized
weapons
there.
Right, but you can see it interacting with the cloud.
Yes.
It clearly looks like a very large object at quite a distance from the cameras.
Yes.
It would be hard to fake for sure.
It would,
And,
and I don't think it was a fake. I mean, when people get it from different angles, I suppose it could be a fake craft, as it were, but it's not a fake photograph, that's for sure.
Well, I listened to the interview, and you can tell the witnesses are obviously sincere.
Yes,
And with multiple witnesses, well, right off the bat, there you've got a good case.
but it didn't go nuts like most things like that would, and I'm convinced the reason it
Goodbye,
didn't
my
go
friend.
nuts, even though it was covered, is because it didn't look right.
It's kind of Arthur C. Clarke, 2001, The Monolith. Kind of maybe it scared people a little bit.
Exactly right. I'm getting a little notice of internet connection problem from you, but I don't hear it. You sound great.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Oh, well, so much for you, Skype. All right. Let's move to OBEs, and I really, really love the subject of OBEs, Preston. I only had one in my whole life. It happened when Ramona and I went to Paris, France, and it was amazing, Preston. I had been asleep. I woke up, and it's like somebody snapped a switch, and this is the only way I can describe it. I was in the most joyous, welcoming, amazing place I had ever been. It was absolute pure joy, but it scared the heck out of me, and I snapped right out of it. I was somewhere else. I mean, instantaneously, I was somewhere else. An amazing place of some kind. But boy, did it shock me, Preston. I didn't do any tours. I didn't get to
You have
go
no more room.
to some other
You
place
can't
on the
carry
earth, as
anymore.
people have
You
been
can't
described
hold
to do with
anymore.
OBEs. But it was incredible. There aren't words.
No, there really aren't. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But we're on a radio show, so we're going to have to find words. So what is an out-of-body experience?
Well, the simple definition is an out-of-body experience is when you perceive yourself as being separate from your body. And to elaborate on that a little bit, we all have a dream body, or an astral body, if you will, which is separate from the physical. And in fact, we're kind of projecting down here from the so-called other side into a physical body. So an out-of-body experience is sort of the reverse of that. They call it projection, but in fact, we're going towards, our source. And we not only have...
We're going toward our
A
source.
human face.
Right, we not only
Good
have
fortune
a
finds me
physical
even in
body
the
and an
darkest
astral
places
body.
of Greece.
As we get into
I
this,
was
it gets a
counting
little
my
bit more
final
complicated
hours.
than that. We
What
have
is, wait, what is the source?
These
where we come
creatures
from,
live like savages.
God, all that is, the spirit which moves through all things, the universe, the light. It goes by many different names in different cultures, but it's pretty clear when you start doing this stuff that there's something up there.
Okay, I'm going to give you a gift that will keep on giving, okay?
I'm ready.
You mentioned the light, right?
Right.
Tellus, still alive?
John Lear
I
is
can
the
hardly
name on
believe
it.
my ears.
You know the name, I'm
I
sure,
had given
right?
up. Thank you,
absolutely.
warrior.
Okay,
Thank you.
Learjet fame, Daddy. Anyway, I did a very serious interview with John Lear, one in which he said, the most important thing I'm ever going to tell you, Art, or something along those lines, is as follows. When you die, you will have a choice of going to the light or the darkness. Don't go to the light. It's a trick. And I'll leave you with that, Preston, for you to think about that the rest of your life. It's bugged me ever since.
I don't know. I've been in the light. I've gone out of my body. I've done all of this. And,
So
I
you're
don't
here
know.
to say the light is the way.
It's part of the universe. There's a source there. There's something really wonderful within, the so-called light that near-death experiencers are reporting. Absolutely.
So are you sure enough of the goodness of the light to say, John's all wet, go to the light?
Go towards the light. Yeah. I think that you're going to be fine. You can, what I would say when you're at that point, make the decision then. This is not something you don't want to do. I mean, if you're uncomfortable with it,
See, this
you
has
can turn away.
driven me nuts ever since. I mean, you make the wrong choice and there's no going back.
Well, here's the problem. I mean, this is a big problem on the other side. People who don't go towards the light, who are stuck here on the physical plane as ghosts. And a lot of these people don't even know they're dead. And this actually turns up in pretty much every
You have
out-of-body
saved
book
our
Right.
thoughts and
I've
our
read.
All right. Did
For
you
this,
hear what I read
we
at the
thank
beginning
you.
of the program about the study in Iceland of the people who died violently?
Yes. Yes, I heard it. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a problem.
So it's real. In other words, I've said jokingly a few times, nasty on this side, nasty on that side. You think some truth to that?
Oh yeah, there's kind of levels of vibration, and if you are vibrating, with low-level emotions like lust or anger or greed or all of this kind of stuff, violence, you're not going to be able to move up to the higher realms where it vibrates much faster. It's much more beautiful. You have many more what I would call, I guess, supernatural powers.
I am Tellus.
This sort of thing.
Nicostratus made it back
I've
to the
had
village.
the lust thing.
So he's all right then.
Oh yeah, this is something
We
that
tended our flocks together.
the astral body is
We
actually
are
called the
close,
desire body.
like brothers.
And this
Really?
is something you'll find out pretty quick if you start doing this sort of stuff regularly, because this is where all your emotions come from, and your suppressions and anything you've really not dealt with. And when you pop out of body, this is not at all unusual. For people to become absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
Or-
I get that.
Or completely joyous. Or
Yeah.
consumed with lust. Or, the desire to eat food.
It seems to me if you pop out of your body and then get consumed with lust, you're in real trouble because you need that body.
Well, it's very much like having an erotic dream, you might say, except you're awake.
Yeah, I get it, sure.
It's actually a really wonderful experience because you can live out pretty much any fantasy you want. You can create feasts of food. You can do just about anything that you can think of. The power of thought on the other side is amazing. You just think it, and it has a huge effect.
The way you're talking about it leaves not much question in anybody's mind. You've been there.
I absolutely believe I have. I really do. I think that we actually all have out-of-body experiences, but the trick is really remembering them. And I'm not alone with this. This is what other out-of-body travelers say as well.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Gee, I can't forget mine. It was so profound that I can't forget it. There are various tricks, aren't there, to getting out of your body. Let's go there. I have heard it said that, for example, feeling paralyzed and hearing a buzzing sound is very frequently something that precedes a possible OBE. Is it true?
Right. That's called the vibratory state. And that means you're ready. You're actually feeling the higher vibration of the next dimension, which is what that is. So you're ready to go. It's basically just a process of relaxing till you get to that point.
I was in a bit of a scrape
I've been
I'll
there.
admit.
I
Thank
can't
the God
get
Hermes
past
you
it.
came
It's
along.
too scary.
Yeah, there's a huge fear barrier which you have to get over and just do it. The thing to remember is you can't be hurt when you're out of body. It's a non-physical state.
I know this is what everybody who talks about OBEs says. You can't be hurt.
I don't know
But
when the rumors started.
I don't know.
First, a man was attacked.
Let me ask you this.
Then
When you're out of
strange
body,
beasts were seen by
is
moonlight.
that...
Whispers
I hate to
of
use this word, but I'm
centaurs,
gonna. Is that your
harpies,
soul
and then
that
suddenly-
is separating from your body, in your opinion?
I don't know if it's quite like that, rather than it's just sort of an awakening to what's already there, or kind of reaching out to the larger parts of yourself. To a certain extent, it feels like that. I mean, it feels like you are no longer in your body. If you get good at this, though, you can get to a point where you can do what's called bilocation. And I've had just a few tiny tastes of that.
Do you think we have souls?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then, when you leave your body, would it be your guess that it is probably your soul that's a-leaving? We have to be a-leaving right now. We'll be right back in a few minutes. So relax, enjoy yourself. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? We're talking about an oasis for the soul, perhaps, with Preston Dennett right now. We're talking about out-of-body experiences. Preston, welcome back.
Hello?
Hello. Okay, so I was talking about, or asking about the soul, whether you thought the soul left the body when you leave the body.
Right. Well, some people do call it soul travel. I really don't know. I'm kind of just telling you what I experienced. And,
that's fair.
So I can't really say that this is my soul, but I do feel like you have a separate body, a dream body, which has actually these amazing abilities, such as flying. Flying alone is worth the price of admission for doing this thing.
Oh, yes. Oh, flying. Oh. I'm so into flying, and just sort of floating and flying around the buildings and the lakes and the trees and the forest. We all kind of want to do that, and how cool it must be. And you're claiming you have done it.
Right, walk through walls, visit distant locations. I think a lot of people have had flying dreams, and this is a real close indicator that you're, close to remembering what's going on at night. We're all having these experiences each night.
How do you know whether you're ready to walk through a wall?
Well, you try it. It's a little disconcerting, I have to tell you at first. You're like, all right, I'm going to do it.
Boom.
And I have to tell you, it took me over a year to keep my eyes open while doing it. And I wouldn't fly through telephone wires for a really long time just because, I was a little bit nervous about it.
So you really, you swear on a stack of somethings that you've walked through walls?
Absolutely. It's a remarkable experience. You can actually feel it.
That is so cool.
And brick is like a different texture from wood.
Wait. Describe it. You said you can feel it. If you walk through a wall, never having walked through one, tell me, what does it feel like?
Well, it's hard to describe, but you can feel the surface of the material, whether it's rough or smooth. Like brick is kind of grainy and rocky, and you can feel it right through your entire body, by the way, through your arms and legs.
Wow.
And which is different from wood and smaller, thinner substances like glass.
I know words are hard for this. Let me try this. Is there any difference in the resistance of wood going through a wall and, walking through a brick wall?
Yeah. Wood's easier, glass is easiest, and you kind of pop out. It's like going through a bubble. You feel a little tug, and boink, you're out.
Oh, that's cool.
And, there's been times I've walked into walls and boom, hit it.
I really appreciate your being able to describe this. It's awesome. I've always wondered what it would feel like. And you're saying there is a difference. And you said with glass, it's kind of like a little... And you're feeling.
Right. But you can reach a point, where you don't actually feel any of this if you're vibrating at a really high frequency. But normally when a person pops out, they're still pretty low frequency and they're trying to just orient themselves. And you try and walk through a wall and you might bounce off of it, which has happened to me many times. It took me a little bit to learn how to do it.
Well, see, that's what I'm worried about. Failure at walking through walls probably has some consequences, especially if you're really sure of yourself and you just go strutting right up to it, boom.
Yeah, there was one time I popped out of body. I'm like, yay, I'm doing it. I flew through my bedroom door, flew through the hallway door. I was into the hallway outside, and I flew down the staircase of my condo building where I lived at the time.
Yes.
And landed into the second landing and sunk right up to my knees. And I'm like, oh no, what do I do now? Like flailing around, and I lost consciousness and was pulled back into my body.
See, that's part of the really scary part to me. It just really is. The possibility that you might sink into something, for example. Ooh, that's not good.
Well, let me alleviate at least, some of your fears, because the truth is,
please,
what I found is very beneficial.
A strange
And
illness
the dangers are
many in my
way
town of
overstated.
Fichia, and I was sent to retrieve
I found, in
medicines.
fact, it's got a lot more benefits than dangers.
But now
There's
the
no
path ahead
real
is
danger of
held by
getting locked
satyrs,
out of your
led
body,
by one of their fierce
or
champions.
getting possessed, or going too far away, or getting lost, or anything like that. Because you have this silver cord, which pulls you back. In fact, the problem is staying out. That's truly the problem. And you get pulled back at the least if you even think about your body. If you have, a lot of fear, it will pull you back. A lot of emotion of any kind will pull you right back into your body.
Now, I've got to give you this. Every person I've talked to on OBEs over the years has said roughly the same thing. So, that resonates with me. I've never had a description of walking through things. That was really cool. But the part about getting yanked back, if there's danger or if there's big emotion or something like that, most have said that. That's what causes me to kind of buy into all this, Preston, because everybody's saying the same thing.
Oh, yeah, at first you're thinking, my God, is this happening to me? This can't be real. I must be dreaming. And you get into this sort of quest. And beginners always want to start moving objects. I tried that for years, and I still can't do it. There's some people who claim to be able to do it.
Right, not possible, I guess, huh?
I haven't been able to do it. But what I was able to do is go to a distant location and look at it and like, wow, I didn't expect this to look like this. This location near my house, which I'd never been to.
Yes.
And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go there and see if this is actually true. Because what it was the Cement River, which is near my house at the time. And it had dirt banked up on the sides. Huge amounts of it. I'm like, there's no way. This is the Cement River. There was plants growing and all this stuff. I'm like, I have to go see this. And this is how I got proof that, this is not, the first time. I got proof that this is not just a dream. Because it's very, pretty disorienting when you're out of your body and you're walking around. You feel like a ghost.
All right, so here's a question for you. If you are out of your body and try to move something, is it just your hand that goes right through it?
Right. Or you might think you actually moved it. And because there's kind of weird duplicate energy forms, I guess, thought forms, that you're moving around, which do move, but it's not the actual physical object. Mm-hmm. So, I haven't been able to do it, and I was obsessed with it because, I don't know, I felt like this ghost
what
walking
suits
around,
your fancy?
and I was dealing with a lot of emotions, dealing with a lot of lust, a lot of gluttony. I would create these feasts of food and all this kind of thing.
That brings up another topic, which I want to ask you about. You said you felt like a ghost. Is it possible, Preston, that some ghost reports are people doing OBEs?
I would be surprised if it wasn't the case.
Really?
I think that there's a few verified cases, not nearly as many as I
Until
would
next
think would be
time.
out there. But almost certainly that has to be the case. Because there are a lot of cases in the literature, at least, where people have gone over to other people's houses and appeared, which I've tried to do, by the way. And I'm flying around in front of people. I'm like, here I am. Do you see me? Do you see me?
Seriously?
And, they don't see me. They cannot see me.
But you can see what they're doing, right?
Right.
If not, can you hear them?
Well, let me think about that. I don't think I've been able to do that. I'd have to, I don't think so. There's been a couple of cases. Yeah, I was once, went to San Diego. I have a friend who lives down in San Diego. Thought, this is a far way to go. I'll try
Right.
that.
Okay.
And this is kind of what you do. You have a plan in mind. And if you don't have your agenda ready, you're going to get distracted. You're going to lose consciousness. You have to really focus. It's a tightrope of consciousness.
You're saying you could plan this like you would a trip.
Exactly.
Wow. You really hesitated when I asked you about whether you could hear people. That's interesting. You would think the auditory aspect of it would either be shockingly there or even more shockingly missing.
Well, when you go to the other side, so to speak,
Yes.
it's telepathic. You do hear music and things like that, but when people are talking, you're hearing them in your mind.
Okay. That says it all. Do you always hear them in your mind, or sort of just if you want to?
Usually. Not always. No, I once popped out. This is something I wanted to do. I said, I want to meet an enlightened master, someone who's made it.
Right.
And this beautiful woman
You
appeared
have
on
no
my
more room.
balcony.
You can't hold
just
anymore.
a beautiful blonde woman.
Your
She says,
inventory
keep
is
your eyes
full.
open. And she grabbed my arm and pulled me up. Of course, I closed my eyes. And I instantly opened them, and she's depositing me into this field. And there's this guy sitting on a chair who I'm presuming is, the enlightened master.
Right.
And he gives out this one weird sentence, which is what they do, these kind of koans or poems or something, little riddles. And so it's really interesting what he says. He says, when you do something, do it absolutely. And he said it out loud, and he was punctuating each word. So it was an odd sentence for sure, which has hidden meaning to it, which I could talk about.
Sure. The whole thing is just so astounding to me. How many times, Preston, have you done this? I mean, is it so many you can't count, or what?
Well, I probably could count it, but it's got to be in the thousands there.
Forgot something?
Consciously. I think, again, that's a trick question.
Yeah, I
we're
don't
all
mean it
doing
to be.
this.
I don't mean it to be. I really don't. I'm so curious about this, and of course, people are going to come forward and they're going to say, "I want to do this so badly. How do I do it?"
Right. Well, for one thing, there's no real qualifications. All you need is the desire and the time to do it. You need to be open-minded enough to do it. Put in the discipline. I don't think there's any link to physical health, because some people who are really good at this have ill health and others are very healthy. And there's no real dangers, as I was talking about earlier. And the only real obstacles, I think, are that people are skeptical about it, or they're scared, or
Okay. All right.
they're lazy.
I'm going to pin you to the wall here. You said there's no real danger, and I've had other people say that to me too. So here's the question that I need an answer to. How do you know that some people who have left their body on this excursion into Joyville, wherever it is you're going, didn't have the cord snapped, and we now regard those people who left us in such a way as having died in their sleep? I mean,
Right. No, I can definitely speak to that. There's one case, supposedly, where something like that presumably did happen. But it was only one. It's kind of what I would call an outlier. And one person did tell me that they had a similar experience.
A friend of mine says it only takes one white crow to prove there's white crows.
These are statistically insignificant, though.
Well,
when you look at the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases of people who are doing this, there are just a very small residue.
Flying is safer, I know.
And and anyone can do it. It's absolutely easy to do.
All right, let's go back to this one that you know of, this outlier you called it.
Right. All I can tell you about the case is supposedly that this lady was proficient at doing out-of-body experiences and one day died at a young age. And there was no real link that they could make, specifically that she was out-of-body practicing at the time she was doing it. But it's one case we have of people who are really good at this and are doing it regularly, and they died at a young age mysteriously. Most of the people experience actually the opposite. I've got 20 cases
now I'm worried
of people who got healed of chronic illness, or healed of cancer, or healed of all kinds of illnesses, colds, healed of hip
just from
injury.
being out of their bodies.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's these energies on the other side. This is where your perfect body is. The astral body is the superior body. It doesn't age, and your physical body is kind of modeled after it. So you can actually reach these healing places and heal yourself of physical illness.
Now, see, that's making quite a claim.
I've got 20 cases. They're anecdotal, but one really good one is Bruce Moan. He cured himself of sarcoidosis, which, his case was a really bad one, and it's often fatal. And he was getting worse and worse, and was able to go out of body and work on this wound.
Better than Obamacare, huh?
I recently, tried to go to one of these healing temples and was successful. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited.
You're saying there are temples on the other side where you can go to be healed.
Right. I'd read about them several times. People have, you hear different kind of explanations
here, but
and
I can't go
descriptions,
home.
I would say.
My daughter was
And I'm
supposed
like,
to be
well,
married.
this is something I want to do. I'm going to put this on my list.
A
And I
fine
did it.
gold
I popped out
necklace
of body and
is
I
in the claws of
made
crazed
the
demons who
command, sort
smashed
of
my cart and
made
ran
the
off.
intent known. And at that point, you're pulled off through the other side, or up into the sky, where I was 50 feet up above my house, and then boom, you go through this weird barrier, I guess you would call it, and you're on the other side.
Wow.
And it's what I would call the heavenly realms. Honestly, I'm not a very religious man, but this is what it feels like. I mean,
I'm not overly religious either, Preston, so I'm with you there. I have hopes, but I have no strong faith, and
You can't marry anymore.
I wish I did. And it might well be that seeing what you're describing would absolutely do the trick for me. Bring me to the healing temple. Hey, I've got a bad back.
Exactly what you do. Anyone can do this. You just meditate on this subject as you go to sleep. There's various ways of reaching the other side, and you don't have to go through all the weird
very few
exit
still
sensations
can.
and things like this.
Those
I'm going to say about half of the out-of-body experiences I have,
Hello there.
I just wake up on the other side. And, you're fully awake, by the way. Colors are much more vivid. It's the real reality. This is a pale comparison.
If I can just get past the fear. I mean, it really is scary, Preston, because you do go through that thing where there's a humming sound, and you may go through feeling paralyzed. These are frightening things to happen to a person before you get to something better. They really are scary.
Oh, yeah, and it can get very loud. It can feel like an electric shock and feel like you're standing next to a jet engine.
See,
Goodbye, my
that's what I
friend.
mean.
But, that's as bad as it gets, and then pop, you're out, and boy, is it worth it. And there's just so many things.